Hi, my name's Pete. Magnus has asked me to come down and introduce him today. I've got a fair amount of experience with workshops. I've run dozens myself. I've taught hundreds of guys now. I've taught with Style in Las Vegas. I've been sat next to Mystery on various intercontinental flights, which is probably less fun than you imagine. I've attended a lot of workshops, as well as having run a fair number. Which brings me to why am I here? I'm here as an endorsement to Magnus. I've known Magnus since I got into the community. He was one of my very first wings when I did get into the community. So we've gone out sergeing a lot, we've gone through a lot together, and we've both seen each other improve over time. Magnus is a great teacher, and I'd be tempted to almost say visionary in some ways. A lot of the times he said stuff to me that at the time seemed really kind of far out, or stuff that at the time was dismissed out of hand, and then 6 months later really realised was very profound and very, very true for me at the time. He's often been ahead of the curve in that way. He's going to talk today about tapping and how it relates to inner game. Somebody once said to me that the inner game is about being an attractive person, and outer game is about trying to demonstrate that quickly. I think often a lot of the characteristics that we tend to think of as being attractive tend to be almost a lack of negative characteristics. People talk about confidence as being a very attractive characteristic. Do you agree? Well, what other characteristics can we think of that are attractive in people?
Sense of humour.
Sense of humour.
Good energy.
Good energy. A lot of these traits come from not being hung up, not in your head. I read a paper recently, I forget the citation, but it said that a lot of people have status in groups of people who are extroverted and people who aren't very neurotic. A lot of the times, people who come across as unattractive, people who come across as people tend to use the word confidence a lot to signal attractiveness. People who have hang-ups about certain things, people who have negative emotions associated with certain things. And as far as I can tell, and as far as it's worked for me, tapping is very good at helping you get over these things. So, Magnus.
Thanks, Pete. So yeah, well, a little bit about me. Although Pete's said quite a lot there. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I found the community 5 years ago, and since then it's been a struggle. And like what I really like, the duty that I see that the more experienced members of the community have to the newer guys is to help them get on their path a lot quicker. So that's what it's about. If I can really save you some time by sharing my experience, then that's my aim. Why did I find the community? I wasn't getting laid, obviously. Since school, I had this repeating pattern where the girls that I would like weren't interested in me. I'm sure you can all relate to that. So it was like there was the occasional girl that I get together with, but it was never the girl that I was really interested in. And that kind of left me, particularly when I went to university, with the feeling that I was somehow behind and wanted to catch up, and there's just all sorts of inadequacy associated with girls not being interested in me and just not feeling very attractive in myself. So when I did get a girl at university, a really, really great girlfriend, I kind of felt like, well, this is it. She's the one. She's the only girl that's ever going to understand me properly. And so when we broke up, I was gutted. It was the end of the world. And it was around that time, like maybe it's a year or so after that I found the community. And I went into it feeling like before I wanted another serious relationship, I wanted to play the field a bit more. And like to make the feeling of inadequacy around women go away, I set myself a goal of sleeping with, or at least feeling like I'd slept with 100 women before I got with another serious girlfriend. And from what I was hearing about the community, that was actually possible. Like I could actually change myself in that way and become that sort of guy. And so there was various milestones, like getting together with the Bristol Leg guys, and we were just going out every, like 3 or 4 nights a week, every week, for a long period of time. And that's definitely one way to get good. And I lived in Vienna for 10 weeks with a couple of other PUAs, and again, going out almost every night for 10 weeks. And that definitely helped my game. As a taking RSD workshop for a weekend, that was amazing. But the thing that really has made the difference to my inner game, and after making the difference to my inner game, to my outer game as well, was tapping. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. And the real thing that's given me is that it's taken away that feeling that I had to like make up for the past and catch up with everyone else. So it was it was maybe a year ago that I just started to realise that, I had some success, but I started to realise that no matter how many girls I slept with, that feeling wasn't going to go away. Like, I wouldn't start to feel good about myself just from sleeping with girls. It was something that was going to come from inside. And so I started applying tapping to these feelings and started to let go of that, because that's what tapping does. It just releases negative feelings. It literally, you find the feeling and it's like it goes inside your mind and it hits right click, delete, and that feeling is gone forever. It can never affect you again. And it was affecting me because girls can really pick up on this sort of stuff. When you're talking to a girl, if there's any whiff of desperation, it's going to turn her off. And my whole motivation for going out meeting women was to kind of fill that hole inside of me. I guess instead of filling a hole inside of them. And it was really only tapping that got rid of that feeling. I'm sure there's plenty of other ways I could have done it, but tapping was the one that worked for me. What I was sure about, particularly after tapping that feeling away, was that I could have slept with 1,000 women and I would still feel exactly the same way about myself. Like, it really wasn't that I had to sleep with 100 women to feel that way about myself. So, yeah, that's really what I want to share with you today. What I'm going to be sharing with you is my map. Okay, it's not the map. It's not the territory. So the NLP phrase that the map is not the territory. It's my best description that I have right now of the way a mind works and the way you can improve your inner game, particularly with tapping. And I would encourage you to expose yourself to as many other maps as possible. David D'Angelo is great, Tony Robbins, whatever you come across, basically. Whatever comes into your path is probably what you're supposed to be looking at. And it's like, the other day I travelled to see my friend at Clapham Junction. And so to do that, I had to walk to the tube station. I got on the tube, I took an overground train, and then took a bus to my friend's house. So that's potentially 4 different maps I could have used to get from where I was to where I wanted to be. So you should look at it like that. Tapping is just one way to get you a particular leg on your journey. And it's, for me, it's the thing that has really taken me the furthest, really, further than anything else, further than any boot camps, further than any number of sets that I've run, which is probably in the thousands by now, and particularly far further than sleep with any girls would take me. So the important thing to realise about these maps is that they all describe the same thing. The map is not the territory, but there is a territory, right? There is, there's certain functions of your brain, there's certain chemical processes, there's, certain different parts of your brain, and, pretty much everyone's brains are the same, like physically and chemically. It's the same functions that are at work there. And what differs is the different ways that different people have of explaining them and the different tools that they have for working with those things. But at the end of the day, it's just different ways of looking at the same thing. So it's quite important to realise that. So tonight, there'll be 20-30 minutes of seminar, then we'll do a Q&A, have a quick break, and then do some demonstrations. So, a lot of what I teach is something I call emotional literacy. And that's just the understanding that we make decisions emotionally. Like, no matter how logical or rational you think your thinking is, pretty much, and this is one of the ways that the brain is so fast, is that a lot of our thinking is done emotionally. Okay? And then it's only later we make the snap decision emotionally, and it's only later that we backwards rationalise it and work out why we did that and put the logic to it. And you see that all the time with girls. I mean, that's very much what chick logic is about. And I think men are just as emotional. It's just they prefer to sit with the logical explanation of why they did a particular thing. So I want you to get involved here. The best way to understand this is to experience it. So I want you to think of a situation, and probably like the most popular thing for community guys to start working with is approach anxiety. So think of a situation where you might want to talk to some girls. Maybe it's a recent situation, or maybe it's later tonight or next week whenever you next go out. And just think about how you feel doing that. So really, really put yourself there. Imagine, choose a particular bar. If it's in the past, choose, think of a specific time. And imagine that you're there right now and looking at the girls that you want to talk to, and see if you can detect a particular feeling that arises in your body. And just really look for that now. And see if you can. So there's these steps. See what feeling is there. And is there a particular emotion that you associate with that? Is it fear or anxiety or whatever feeling? And look at where do you feel it in your body. And just in your head, just give it a number from 1 to 10 for how intense that feeling is. And just focus on it. And now think, what does it remind you of? And maybe you can think of a time that you felt it before, maybe like a couple of weeks before. And if you can go back even further, maybe there's a few times that you felt it, and then see if you can find the first time that you felt that feeling. And it could be, like, normally it's around the ages of somewhere between like 6 and 16, depending on what the feeling is. And yeah, so find the earliest memory. So what I'd like to do now is get a volunteer up here, and I promise to cut you out of the video if you didn't want to be on the camera. Have you all got a particular memory? Or can you raise your hand if you've got one? Yeah. And who here doesn't mind being on camera? Do any of you guys, do you feel comfortable sharing that? Yeah? Great. Mighty Phoenix? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Is that right for sound, Nick?
Yeah, well, Vince can just speak to me.
Is that alright?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. You feel comfortable sat there?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So did you have a situation where you were walking up to some girls?
Yeah.
Where was it, in a bar locally or what?
Bar.
Yeah, okay. And how many girls were there? What sort of like was it like?
It was like usual 3 girls, a couple of guys.
Okay. And at what point did you feel the feeling?
When I saw the target.
Okay. So it's when you saw her to start with?
Yeah.
Before you even decided you weren't going to speak to her? Did you just know that? Anyway?
No, I was just going to cross the approach, because usually when you see a target, it's shoot.
Right.
So.
Okay. And is this an actual recent event that happens?
No, I suppose it's like every interaction.
Right. And in that situation, would you approach or would you not approach?
Yeah, approach.
You probably would, okay. But you definitely feel this feeling?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, okay. So where do you feel it in your body? Yeah, okay. So you feel it in the centre of your chest?
Yeah.
Right, so where is the chest? And what sort of feeling is it? Like, if there's an emotion there, what emotion would it be?
It's like, I don't know, it's like nausea.
Nausea, right. Nausea in your chest?
Yeah, it's
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And can you give it an intensity from 1 to 10? 6. And if you think back, were you able to find a memory when you first felt that? how old were you roughly?
7.
7 years old. Okay. And just what's happening?
Yeah, it was a girl I liked kind of went out with when I was little. What was her name? Katrina, I think it was. It was kind of the first girl I really felt something for.
First girl, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And is there a particular time that you felt it with her?
Yeah, I remember like feeling it in my playground, like this
Okay.
girl.
Great. So in the playground with Katrina. And if you go back to the bar that you imagined in the first place, are there any other feelings there, like kind of underneath that feeling in your chest?
I suppose like a bit scared, like
Bit
there's
scared.
a couple of guys there and it's just
Okay.
like I always get wet.
And is that the same as that feeling, or is it a different feeling?
That's different.
Where do you feel that?
It's like more like in my head.
In your head.
Yeah.
Great. So we've got a scared feeling in your head. And how strong is that? 1 to 10.
That's like it.
That's an 8. Okay. Interesting. And can you think of a time you felt that feeling before?
Probably if a friend gets like in a fight, I'm
Okay.
not really conscious of
Yeah.
like if the guy's there that's gonna. Because I do like copy funny, so I get that thing if you're friendly.
Is there a particular memory that jumps out when you felt that feeling?
Not really. Probably the time a recent.
A recent one. Okay. And you definitely felt it that day.
Yeah.
Can you think of a time earlier that you felt it at all? It's not essential, but if it jumps out. Okay. And apart from the scared feeling and the nauseous feeling, any other feelings in the bar that jump out?
I suppose excitement.
Excitement. Okay. Great. And but that's a good excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in fact, if it was just that feeling there, it would be easier to approach
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Definitely.
And any other negative feelings that jump out?
Not really,
Okay, great. Does anyone else relate to that? Like, that's kind of making sense, you know. Was anyone having particular difficulty finding the feelings? No? Great. Sometimes people do, in which case, like, it just takes a little more effort and make sure to get relaxed. One comment that I get when people looking at videos is that they feel like they can't feel the feeling. Maybe they can kind of imagine it, and that's actually good enough. But I think just because tapping is quite often a sudden effect, and quite often like people see it's quite new age, people will kind of get stuck at that point and try and dismiss it. But as I hope you'll see, it works on basically everyone who has a brain and a nervous system. So and if you want to go back to, did anyone not find a memory? Did you all find a memory? Good. If I want to go back to that first memory, so you go back to Katrina in the playground, and this is how we do tapping. Find what's called the karate chop point, like on the side of, like on the side of your hand where you would karate chop something, and just start tapping there, and just repeat after me. So it's a nauseous feeling in your chest. So even I feel nausea in my chest,
Even though I feel nothing in my chest.
I deeply and completely accept myself. And even though I feel nausea in my chest,
Even though I feel nothing in my chest.
I deeply and completely accept myself. So, and now tap on the side of the thumb. Nausea in my chest. Nausea in my chest. Nausea in my chest. So keep working through the fingers. And that's great. And now on the collarbone. Nausea in my chest. Chin. Nausea in my chest. Under nose. Nausea in my chest. Nausea in my chest. Nausea in my chest. Look at that. Understand? Nausea in my chest. Okay, right. So that might look a bit strange, particularly if you don't understand it. The first bit is really giving your body and your mind a frame of reference for what the good feeling is and what a bad feeling is. So you've got that even though I have this nausea in my chest, so even though there's this bad feeling, I deeply and completely accept myself. So it's like these two contrasting feelings. Sometimes what we're doing is activating the natural healing process. And that's like it's a basic mechanism that's in your mind. And so sometimes it needs a frame of reference. Sometimes it gets confused and kind of thinks that that the bad feeling is kind of the way things really should be. So that's the first bit. And then every feeling, because it's stored in a particular part of the body, it's stored in your nervous system. Okay. So there's these. I'll show you this pen. Each of these points is the end point to a meridian, which is the Chinese name for the Chinese medicine name for the nerve channels that run through your body. And this pen actually detects these. It's an electro-acupuncture pen, and it's just measuring electrical resistance. Okay, and I find it quite useful for convincing skeptics who, like there's a study on the internet where you can find that it doesn't. They did a study to find that it doesn't matter which points you use, and I mean that's kind of their experience. But in my experience, it really does matter which point you use. It only works if you use the right points. I mean, it's all connected, so you can kind of see how it might work if you use different points. But you can hear that beeping, and as I run it just along there, when it gets to the point, it clearly beeps differently, right? And you can also detect points with magnetic resonance, but that's just measuring the electrical resistance, and you can play with that later if you like. So now we're going to do a very quick exercise to wake up your brain and just make sure every area of your brain is activated. So find this point on the back of your hand between the little finger and the ring finger, and just keep tapping there, and just keep your head still. Follow my finger down there, and there, all the way over, and all the way back. And now just hum for me, just and count 1, 2, 3, 5, and just hum again, and relax. And so that's your NLP eye-accessing cues, like if you look around feeling or you look up to what something look like. The counting activates your logical left brain, the humming activates your emotional right brain. That's the theory anyway. So, can you still find that feeling in the chest? Great. And now, just tap on the thumb. So even though I have this feeling, the next finger, this feeling, middle finger, this feeling, and the little finger, this feeling, collarbone, this feeling, chin, this feeling, under the nose, this feeling, under the eye, this feeling, and under the eye. And is it still a 6? Can you still find it? It's a lot less, but it's still there.
Yeah.
Is it in the same place
I
precisely?
think about it. It's kind of lowered down.
Okay, it's definitely lower down. So it's actually moved. So that's really, I mean, so the feeling's still there. So it's really important. Like the subtle difference is that it's moved. And out of 10, what is it now? 4. Great. And has the emotional quality of it changed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird. It's kind of because the other feelings are more powerful than the other one, than that one.
Right.
So
Has anyone else noticed a change there? Yeah, good. So now focus on that feeling. And so what sort of feeling is it now?
just like strange feelings.
Okay, great. So even though I have this strange feeling in my stomach, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have a strange feeling in my stomach, I deeply and completely accept myself. Strange feeling. 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 And back of the hand. And eyes down there. Okay, so keep down. Yeah, this way. And just eyes on there. And there. Over. Back. And hum. 5 would be 2 And now strange feeling. 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 So yeah, the bit I didn't explain there is that when you find these points and you tap them, it's like the feeling is kind of stuck energy, and I mean nervous energy, stuck in your nervous system. So you tap the point and it kind of sends a shockwave through the nervous system and clears it out. So is that strange feeling in your stomach still there? Is there like if you think about the memory of being in the playground with Katrina, what feeling is there? Has the quality of the memory kind of changed?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to. I feel like I'm trying to think about it. I'm trying to think about the feeling. Like I feel the feeling.
Great.
Very
Great.
I mean,
And now if you go, oh, you didn't have a particular memory for the scared feeling. If you go to the memory in the bar, sorry, the situation in the bar, is that feeling still there?
I suppose because it's like she's not that important anymore, but I don't know, it's weird. It's like she doesn't make me feel that much. So
right.
If the guy's aggressive, then it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, that's
I mean, if I lose her, like if they turn around and be like that, then they'll get her.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
Okay, great. Yeah, so like the feelings are all connected, and you know you can just work on the feelings kind of in the future, like the visualization. That's a very powerful way to use it. But I always find that to go back to the memory, it's very just helpful, kind of understanding what particular memory, what experiences from your life are affecting you at each moment. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers. Did anyone else notice anything happening there? I mean, it's definitely a subtle effect, and it's it's very important to like carefully look at exactly like what's going on in your body. And like tonight, like just for the purpose of that exercise, I really want you to just see that that it does something, and it's quite a new experience sometimes. Because when you think of the memory, you don't really you don't really expect that memory can ever change. The way it makes you feel is always thinking about it. You expect it's always going to make you feel like that. And it's literally the case that there's two components to the memory. Okay, there's the pictures, the sounds, like who's there, the factual side of the memory, like where you are, what people said and what was happening. And that will never change. Obviously, you can't change the past, but what you can change is the emotional component. It's like it really is like a separate part of memory. Like it's stored in a particular part of the brain. Like aside from regular memories. And like I said, right click, delete. Tapping, you go into the memory, you find the feeling, and just let go of it. And what's happening there is it's part of the body's survival mechanism. Okay? It's designed to protect you. So when your memory is always recording situations and the feelings that you're feeling at the time. And so when you experience a similar situation, particularly if you felt a strong, particularly if it's similar to one where you felt a strong negative feeling, instantly your body, that memory is triggered. Okay? And so as a warning, your body throws up that same feeling. Okay? It's like, it's an ancient style mechanism. If it was, it's basically designed for dealing with things like bears or fire or, plants that you shouldn't eat. Okay? It's designed to associate, eating a particular plant with feeling sick in a particular way, that sort of thing. But where it falls down is like the complexity of modern life. It just gets confused. It sees one woman as all women, for example. But it's definitely designed to protect you. It's just that, sometimes it gets confused simply because it's a survival mechanism, it has to be very fast. Right? What it's basically doing is matching patterns. So, it sees a particular situation that reminds it of a particular situation before. And because it has to be a very fast pattern matcher, it's a very simple pattern matcher, right? Which is why it matches all women with one woman, whatever. The feeling comes up in the situation, and it's at that point that we start to rationalise it. Like we see the girl, think about walking up to her, have that feeling, and think, well, I'll do it later, right? Or she's with her friend, or they're busy, or they want to speak to me, or the boyfriend might be around the corner, and that's the backwards rationalisation. But the feeling comes first, and the feeling affects your thoughts because you're backwards rationalised, and then the thoughts basically affect your reality. It affects what you feel you're capable of doing. And that's really how our beliefs come about. A belief is a thought that we're emotionally attached to. It's a thought associated with it. And that's why people are very reluctant to change their beliefs, because when they think about the thought, they get the feeling, and they'll defend it with that emotional intensity that is attached to it. Next page. So, you can really apply this to any goal. So for this example, I'm not sure, maybe he's just approached that set, or maybe that's like the life he wants to create. It doesn't really matter. The point is, you make a picture of where you want to be, whether it's with a new job, or in a new career, or with a certain amount of money, or passing a driving test, whatever it is you want to do. Make a picture of what you want to do, and think about how you feel once again. To achieve any goal, whether it's like walking down to the shops or getting out of bed in the morning, you make a picture of where you want to be, and you take the first step towards doing it. Okay? But at any stage in that, different things can stop you from different particular feelings and thoughts, beliefs will stop you. Okay? And one way that happens is that, well, the main way that happens is when you think about taking the first step, there's a feeling that stops you. Right? So you know what you're supposed to do. Like, you know how to build attraction, you know how to walk up to girls, you know how to start conversations. It's just you feel like you can't do it. Right? I'm not saying that learning routines and things doesn't help. It certainly does. And that's just about learning a skill. But there's no point in learning that skill if you can't physically do it. So the routine or the open or whatever just helps you push through that feeling. It just gives you a rational, almost like a weapon to battle with those that inner dialogue that says you don't want to do it. But even so, you'll still feel the feeling. You have to push through the feeling because you're conflicting with your own beliefs. Right? So just having the feeling that stops you taking that first step or the next step, that feeling can certainly stop you doing the right thing, even though you know what the right thing is to do. And then even once you get there, like this guy looks pretty happy, but maybe he's also feeling, wondering what he's supposed to do with these girls, or wondering what happens when they both get jealous, or wondering what his parents will think. Okay, so even under the big smile there, if he's got any particular worries, subconsciously he's going to be avoiding creating that picture for himself. He's going to be avoiding taking the next step. So even though he might be taking steps, he'll self-sabotage himself. So he'll do something that he shouldn't. He'll deliberately or subconsciously take the wrong step towards it. And so the feelings or the negative feelings screw you up at each point. So the way to help this with EFT is to find whatever negative feelings you feel once you're there, and whatever negative feelings stop you taking the first step. And you tap those away, and you just find things happen effortlessly. And I mean literally effortlessly. Because he already wants to talk to the girls. Right? He already wants to meet that. He already wants to create that. And it would be happening automatically. It's like taking the blocks out from an aeroplane that's sitting on the runway. The propellers are already running. Right? It's just that the block is there, and you tap it away, and it just starts moving forward. This is why there's no such thing as laziness or procrastination. Like, those words really don't. Like, what is laziness? What is procrastination? It's just, well, I think about doing this thing, and I get a negative feeling, so I'll just do it later. And then you start thinking, well, I must be lazy, right? Or I don't really want to do it. I was talking with my girlfriend the other night, and her internet is down. And for some reason, she didn't want to bring out the internet provider. And it's been like a week, and she just didn't want to do it. So we tapped away a few things, like, well, even though I have to stay on hold for ages, and even though I don't know much about computers, all these things. And I speak to her today, and she's just done it. She didn't think twice about doing it after that, because she already wanted to log onto the internet and spend time doing that. But there were negative beliefs saying that was going to be a big hassle. And of course it turned out to not be a hassle at all. It was just a case of sitting on a free phone for 20 minutes. And it really doesn't matter what is standing in the way. You can cure depression using this, or severe phobias like agoraphobia. If your goal is to jump out of bed in the morning, well, what stops you doing that when I feel depressed? It might take a while. It might take quite a lot of persistence because it's a very subtle effect. And it could be 100 rounds of EFT. But after tapping away all the feelings that make up being depressed or being agoraphobic or whatever, it'll suddenly not seem like such a big idea, a big deal. I used to have tremendous difficulty getting out of bed in the morning, and I used to procrastinate going to sleep. Things like doing my taxes, that was quite a popular one. And you tap away the feelings, and suddenly they just become automatic. I mean, it certainly helps. Like now, I have something that I passionately believe in, some work that I want to do, that gets me out of bed in the morning. But even if I had that, it would still be a hassle. It would still feel like a big deal if when I woke up I just felt like all the it's nice being in bed, or it feels like it's cold outside, that sort of thing. And like I say, it is a subtle effect. This is why people give up, because it doesn't look like anything's happening. Right? So if all these feelings become layered, then you tap one away and it doesn't look like anything's changed. Right? But EFT literally is like flicking a switch. It always works. Okay? But if you were flicking off if there was a city full of lights and you switched off one, you wouldn't notice. But if you did a lot and switched off a whole street full of lights, then you'd probably notice that. And so, a city is probably an exaggeration. It's more like a small town. Okay, I've done maybe 10,000 rounds. I really find it hard to find something to tap. Which isn't to say I don't ever get approach anxiety, but rather than being like a feeling of a 9 out of 10, it's like a 1 out of 10. And if I really want to, most of the time if I see a girl in a bar that I want to speak to, it's automatic. I just start talking to her. I don't think about it. What's next? Nothing.
Hang on, let's just pull this.
Yeah. Any really quick question at this point? No, they won't want to say it, but everyone getting there? Everyone having fun? Great. Me too.
It's quite scary, actually.
Vince, do you want to swap tape or anything? Or
I've got another 22 minutes. He's a different format.
Hang on, sorry, a question.
Yeah.
How many of your fears can you think to find past memories?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's not essential that you do.
I appreciate that, but
Yeah.
I'm interested to kind of get a handle on it.
Most of them. You'll find that some people can trace every feeling back to a memory instantly, and some people can hardly ever do it. But you just tap whatever you can, and that tends to work. But I mean, the process of going back to the early memory is really just to understand yourself. So yeah.
Right.
Already?
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, these. So yeah, the other thing that people in the community often want to work on is state control. I go out and I just feel like everyone's looking at me. I feel like I've got to approach girls. All these negative feelings, and it's like they kind of become your vibe. You've got all these different thoughts floating around your head. Some positive, some negative. Okay, but not only are they affecting your actions, it's almost like you're broadcasting them, right? Particularly, women are very good at picking up on how you're feeling, and with each of these negative beliefs, there's a feeling attached. So the feeling that you feel, all these different thoughts floating around, that's your vibe. And so, any negative thought you have it's almost like that kind of sucks energy. And I'm now talking about kind of social energy. I don't really believe in energy, like in like the kind of chi kind of, you know, hand wavy, like Reiki kind of energy. But you know, the nervous energy that you know, it's like that is running through your nervous system. Like there's clearly something there, like it's electrical, right? And so the new age guys don't get hung up on the language that they use, right? They talk about, you know, energy and meridians and chakras. You know, that's just their way of describing certain like aspects or functions or properties that they have explored about the human body. Okay, it's just the language that they use. But I'm talking about like kind of social energy. You know, if you're thinking positive thoughts, you're going around giving energy, right? You know, you're being confident and funny because it doesn't occur to you to be any other way. But if you're thinking negative thoughts, like, oh, I can't possibly approach them, all these guys are going to think, you know, I'm not as cool as them, then, you know, you're going to feel negative feelings. And that's you know, you've heard the phrase energy vampires. Okay? So that's really sucking energy. And those feelings, like, they want to be reassured. You know, they need energy from the other person to kind of to negate that feeling, right? Which is it's not hot, basically. Whereas going out with a positive frame of mind, you know, and really genuinely feeling it, really having it go all the way down, so that even if you decide, well, you can't just decide to be in a good mood if underneath you've got all these negative beliefs that are basically stopping you from being in a good mood. So that is your 5. And state control is like all about that. So, like I said, the feelings get attached to thoughts, and they become your beliefs. And your beliefs are everything. People don't live in the real world; they live in the world in their heads. Okay. So do a quick poll. This is you, and I'd just like to know, out of you guys sat here, how many of you feel like you're pretty much totally in control of your reality? Like 99% of your life, you know, the way you feel, like what you do, is down to you. 2, great. And at the other end of the spectrum, does anyone feel like they are not in control of their lives at all? Like you are a leaf floating on the river of life. You go with the flow. You have no control over where you go, what you do, how you feel, anything that happens to you. Does anyone feel like that? No, good. Does anyone, so if the other options were like 50%, 75%, or 25%, does anyone feel like 50-50, like kind of most in, like, or not even most in control, but just okay, so one. Who feels like they're mostly in control? Yeah, pretty much everybody else. And I don't feel like they're kind of, right, one, okay, great. So but what you should realise is that it's pretty much all you. Okay? It's just what you, like, you have your thoughts about the way your life is, the way you want it to be. And it's very easy to think that other people are in control of it. But actually, if this is your conscious mind and this is your subconscious mind, like thoughts that you're not aware of, these define your reality, these thoughts define your reality just as much. Yeah? Because the only way others can control you is if you think they can. If it's important to you what they think, if it matters to you what happens if you don't do what they say. But it's just, you're not aware that you can change that. And you can. And so the first step is to move those subconscious thoughts into the conscious mind, to really become aware of what's affecting you at any point. And that's the emotional literacy that I talked about. And then if you find any of these thoughts that you don't like, you can tap them away. Literally, you can use, I'll show you that a bit later, you can use tapping on a thought or a belief just as easy as you can use on an emotion. As your thought, your brain focuses on the right emotion. And that's why positive thinking doesn't work for a lot of people. Because up here, they've written their affirmation down, and it's all positive. You know, I will approach 100 girls this week, and you know, I'll get my, take steps towards my promotion. But the moment they actually try and do those things, the thoughts in their subconscious mind start limiting them. And yeah, so much of it, like just everything that happens to us is affected by this. I mean, you know, there's always accidents, right? So I would put it at kind of, it's more like 1%. The rest of the world, 99% you. It's just, it's this you. So if you think it's 25% other people, that's pretty much 25% you that you aren't conscious of yet. But you know, the fact that you've joined the LSS and the fact that you're, you know, looking at yourself in this way, that is this process of bringing the thoughts from here to here. So a really great, fantastic example of this. If you'll picture your ideal girl and think about what she's like, you know, like what she looks like physically, how she makes you feel, what sort of girl she is. Just think about that for a second. And just put your hand up. If you have an answer, like a quick answer, what stops you getting together with her? What stops you finding her? What stops you having that ideal girl? Has anyone got a thought on that?
Making the effort.
Making the effort. Okay. Yeah.
Like you've got work or college or
You got work, college.
sort of you've got work on road and stuff.
Okay. Anyone else?
Making the wrong move.
Make the wrong move. Great. So I asked you to imagine your ideal girl, and you know, so certain positive aspects that you're obviously conscious of. You know, she's got nice breasts, blonde hair, she's funny, whatever, obviously. But also, making the effort. You feel like you couldn't make the effort, or you feel like, or what? Or
That's one step along the way, really.
okay. So you know, but if she's your ideal girl, sure, like why? You know, what effort would you have to make? Like if she's your ideal girl, surely she'll fit around work or college. What was the other answer on that?
Making the wrong move.
Make the wrong move. If she's your ideal girl, she will forgive that wrong move. You know. So up here we have all these limiting beliefs. Like you know, we could tap those things away, and you suddenly start to feel like they weren't really so important. And what we've just done there is moving from the subconscious into the conscious. So yeah, the other great example is if you think about the girls that you actually meet, rather than your ideal girl, perhaps this would be a better example. What don't you like about those girls? Anyone?
Too easy to get.
They're too easy to get. Okay, cool. Anyone else?
Arrogance.
They're arrogant.
They're average looking.
They're average looking. Great. So, sorry?
Hairy arms.
Hairy arms. And that's a deal breaker to me. I actually did this myself, like last August. My wingman of mine from New Orleans, we actually met in Vienna. He's into tattoo as well, so we were doing a lot of work on ourselves that month. And yeah, I realised that when I went out, I was going out with all these preconceived ideas about the women that I was going to meet. They were either going to be English, and so therefore fat, bad skin, terrible attitudes, pretty stupid, or they'd be Eastern European, in which case they'd be extremely hot with bad attitudes, pretty stupid. And I tapped all these beliefs away, right? Because these were sitting here, shaping my reality. You know, I would go out subconsciously expecting to meet girls like that, and so obviously I did. And as I tapped it away, I started to realise that, you know, if I had the belief that the girls I met were fat, then if I was talking to a girl who, you know, maybe she wasn't like stick thin, but if she was like just not even overweight, but if she was average, I would probably see her as being fat because I had the belief that the girls I met were fat. Likewise, if I went into a bar, so our beliefs kind of filter our reality. If they really severely skew the way we see things. If I went into a bar and there was a couple of fat girls here, a couple of thinner girls here, I'm just using fat as an example. If you particularly like fat girls, I don't need to make a value judgment on that. And I've really got nothing against fat girls. In fact, after tapping away the belief that I didn't like fat girls, anyway. Might edit that bit out. So, if you go into a bar and there's a couple of fat girls on one side and a couple of thinner girls on the other side, there's a part of your brain called the reticular activation system that is tuned to see things that are relevant to you or emotionally relevant to you. So it's like you'll get this blind spot where the girls are, and you won't see them, let alone walk up to them. Because as far as you're concerned, well, when I go out, I just meet fat girls. So if you start talking to either of them, you're going to talk to the fatter ones, because these ones don't exist. I'm making an example a bit more extreme, but it really does work like that to an extent. And the third thing I realised, after tapping these beliefs away, this really does work on a magical, metaphysical level that I sort of don't understand. I think one day science will understand it. But I literally, like that night, I found myself sat in this bar full of really hot girls. Like every girl in the bar was like the sort of girl I wanted to meet. And it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, we were in a different bar, but for some reason my brain had said, well, alright, you don't go to those fat girl bars anymore, you go to these bars. Because it was kind of part of, it was part of this reality. And I tapped it away. So yeah, it's ridiculous how it affects things like that. And literally that week I met two amazing girls who I was seeing for a couple of months, and just going out, all the girls I spoke to, I just thought they were amazing. Instead of thinking they were fat, stupid, ugly. And it wasn't that they were fat, stupid, ugly, I just wasn't seeing it. It's that I was ending up talking to the girls that I wanted to meet. And I make sure people do that exercise in my workshops. It's very powerful. It's just like you won't believe how powerful until you try it. What's next? So a lot of I'm putting a lot of effort into making sure that you guys can take this all the way for free. I'm doing this, I love the community. My main focus is tapping.com, which is mainstream, and the community is kind of, it's not what I want to do, it's just I think the tapping can be applied to many more things, and I want to help that in a more general sense. The community is where I am right now. As you all know, I run bristolllair.com. And I think everything that is the tapping complements the community extremely well. If as you read stuff, like you're reading the Elmish Method and you read that girls like sex, for example, if you don't believe that, if you have a conflicting belief to that, find that belief. If it makes you feel bad, if it makes you feel like girls are all slutty, you can tap that. And suddenly your reality will become the reality of the stuff that you're reading. If you're watching the David D videos, which I think are amazing, I've watched pretty much all of them. Don't pause it and tap. And you will pick that stuff up so quickly. And particularly in the field, I wouldn't suggest. I do tapping in the field sometimes with people. If I can see someone who's clearly got a lot going for them, but for some reason just being screwed up by a strong negative feeling, you can usually get that down from a 9 to a 1 or a 2. And if they're in any sort of good mood, that gets to the point where it just doesn't matter at all. And I've seen people get instant results in the field just with 2 or 3 rounds of tapping like that. They'll suddenly get good reactions instead of bad ones, basically. But I wouldn't recommend tapping in the field generally. It's a little bit off. You can actually tap in your head. You can imagine tapping the points because it's just affecting the nervous system in the same way as kind of saying it under your breath. And I do that a lot, you don't chew, whatever. So you can definitely do that whenever you notice a negative feeling. But I would never use tapping as an excuse not to approach a set. Like if you see a set, then do your absolute best to approach it. Like that night when you're going home, as part of a debrief, think about what negative feelings were there and tap away, definitely. But in the field, do it. Through tapping.com and innergametapping.com, I'm making as much of this available for free, and tappingforum.com is free. And I'm quite happy to answer emails and help out all the forums that I'm on. And so, I'm offering my ebook. In fact, if you want a draft of my ebook, then drop me an email to mags@bristolblair.com. And I'll make sure I do that. My ebook and workshops, and I'm doing one-on-ones as well. Those can help you accelerate the process, basically. That will, for a start, it'll get you tapping, and it'll, hopefully create a very noticeable. I mean, for the weekend workshop, which I'll talk about in a minute, I really aim to create a profound change in you. Like, literally, you will be a different person when you leave as when you walk in. And because all the unconscious, the beliefs that were stuck there in your unconscious mind are gone, or enough of them are that suddenly you've just got a clear run for approaching girls without any negative beliefs. One amazing DVD that you all need to watch is The Secret. You can get it here. That's really about describing more of the mechanism behind how our thoughts create our reality, and a bit more about how to bring those subconscious thoughts into the mind. So you should definitely all watch that as well. I'll just tell you a bit more about my workshop. It's a weekend at the end of March. Like I said, it's about designed to create a profound change in you, and it's not just teaching. Like, the amount of tapping we do is a lot. Like we basically spend we're either tapping or wasting time, basically. Really literally keep the seminar to a minimum. But there is like a limit to the amount of tapping you can take in one weekend. When I did it in Austin, people were getting sick, because the feelings were so so deep. A lot of them. I don't really believe in feelings being particularly it's not it's not like they really are deep. But if they're quite strong feelings and they're connected to different areas of your life, then the Chinese would say you move a lot of qi, right? You'll find yourself drinking a lot of water, taking very deep breaths, and I told the guys that evening on the Saturday evening, I told them to go out and have quite an early night, and if they wanted to talk to girls, they should. Most of them just went home to bed because literally their brains have been working so hard. When I do one-on-ones, it's normally about 2.25 hours because that's the most amount of tapping people can take in one go before their brains literally need a rest. And so we get to basically 4 of those, the equivalent of 4 of those in the weekend. Some of the things we work on: self-correction, anxiety, state control. Self-acceptance is a big one. If you don't like yourself, other people really won't like you. And we attract people that are like ourselves. When I say attract, I mean the kind of metaphysical sort of attract. We end up meeting people that like ourselves. We choose a particular pub, we sit in a particular part of a lecture theatre or on the train platform, that sort of thing. So the people that end up around you are like you. So if you don't like yourself, you won't like them. And if you're, just like I was, trying to dispel this feeling of inadequacy I had about myself, if you're looking to the other person to do that for you, that's bad. It's and particularly if she's looking for you to do that as well, then it just creates a spiral, basically, that just destroys any relationship. I learned that one hard way. The eye contact exercise is fantastic. I get you all standing opposite each other, looking into each other's eyes, and tapping away any negative feelings. That it's extremely important. But if you go out and try maintaining eye contact with anyone, let alone a hot girl, you naturally, your eyes start to look down, or you start to feel feelings, basically. So we tap those away, and suddenly you find, like, particularly at the Austin workshop, that was the main thing people really reported on, was like they just suddenly found it, like they didn't even notice until like a few days later that they were just keeping eye contact with everyone a lot more naturally, a lot more easily. Forgiveness. And by the way, I'm not just talking about these as things that I do in the workshop. These are things, these are other areas that the tapping can help with, and that you can all just go like, no, wait, tonight and start working on it if you want. People do that. Like I've had several people email me just to look at my videos online, and they just instantly see that they can apply it to everything. Not everyone can do that, so that's why I've written my ebook and stuff like that, and various articles on tapping.com. Forgiveness. Yeah, like how do you feel about your ex-girlfriends? How do you feel about the guys that got together with them? Because whenever you go out, every girl that you meet, to your subconscious mind, every girl you meet is your ex-girlfriend. They will make you pretty much feel the same way. So if she, if it was a particularly bad breakup, your subconscious mind is saying, well, I don't want to go through all that again, so I'm just going to screw you up. I'm not going to let you approach her. That would be ridiculous. And every A-log becomes every other guy that the girls are with. Yeah, I'll be downstairs in a little while. We've got 10 minutes to pack the cameras away. Thanks very much, Dean, for coming.